Hey everyone, Israel is currently in a war against the terror organization Hamas, and we know how hard it can be to keep up with all the news. So if you haven't had the time to stay on top of the latest developments out of Israel, we're here for you. I'm Ladar Gavelazi, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review.
We open our broadcast with another major development in Iran, where the president of the Islamic Republic, Ibrahim Raisi, along with the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, Hussein Amir Abdullahian, have both been killed in a helicopter accident in northwest Iran. The accident occurred due to inclement weather, according to initial reports, and all passengers in the helicopter were killed. Also on board was the regime's representative to eastern Azerbaijan, Saeed Mohammed Al-Ali Hashem, and provincial governor Malik Ramadi. In response to the accident, many nations have expressed condolences to the Islamic Republic, including Lebanon, Venezuela, South Africa, and Russia, with Russian President Putin stating, "We are deeply saddened." Terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas both issued their condolences as well. In the initial aftermath of the news, Iranians in Tehran, Rasht, Mashhad, and other Iranian cities were seen celebrating with fireworks. IRGC forces were quickly deployed to deter celebrations in the streets. Online, however, the celebrations continued, demonstrating pure contempt for the Islamic Republic and a sudden passion for helicopters. There was no immediate evidence that the crash was an assassination, but there are no shortage of theories running around as this death of Raisi may change things internally inside the Islamic Republic. Raisi is known as a regime hardliner. He's most famous for his role as head of the judiciary, for which he earned the title the Butcher of Tehran, as he oversaw the executions of thousands of Iranian dissidents, and as a member of the Death Committee. Under his watch and vision, women were tortured and assaulted for not wearing hijab. Political dissidents were hanged. Protesters were slaughtered. For these reasons, thousands of Iranians are celebrating his demise. He should not be remembered as a statesman, but for the murderer that he was. Foreign Minister Amir Abdullahian, another regime official with blood on his hands, famously stated in 2021 that Israel would not exist in the future of the Middle East. Instead, today it is him who does not exist in the future of the Middle East. The path that Raisi and the foreign minister chose is a path of terrorism, corruption, and death. And may anyone who follows in their footsteps, be it Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis, meet the very same fate. Day 229 of the war in Gaza, and the IDF continues to slowly expand its operation in the Egyptian border city of Rafah, while continuing to operate in Jabalia in northern Gaza. According to numerous reports, the IDF has overcome earlier U.S. objections to the Rafah operation after some 950,000 civilians evacuated from the war zone at Israel's direction. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz reports.
The IDF's 410th Combat Division is continuing the operation in Rafah, with fighters carrying out targeted raids on the terrorist infrastructure and suspicious buildings Hamas terrorists used to fire at Israeli forces. The army eliminated dozens of terrorists in East Rafah who tried to approach IDF positions. The 460th Armored Brigade carried out raids on terrorist infrastructure in the agricultural areas in Jabalia. The IDF located many weapons, including rifles, hand grenades, and explosives. According to the Washington Post, the IDF's limited and careful assault plan has overcome earlier U.S. objections. Washington believes that new plans in Rafah will result in fewer civilian casualties, after an estimated 950,000 Gazans have left Rafah to safe areas designated by Israel. Chief of Staff Halevi was in Jabalia and gave this briefing to officers, emphasizing that their mission remains focused on the war goals, including the return of hostages.
אנחנו במלחמה שאמרנו בהתחלה שהיא תהיה ממושכת. התחפרו כאן שנים להגנה, ולא מפרקים את זה בשבוע, וגם לא בחודש. והמשימה, כפי שמפקד הפיקוד אמר, להרוג כמה שיותר מפקדים, כמה שיותר מחבלים, להשמיד את התשתיות. הלחץ הזה, אנחנו מאוד רוצים, יעזור לנו גם ללחוץ, להביא חטופים חיים, ואנחנו מוכנים לעשות גם מבצעים מסוכנים ומסובכים, כדי להביא גופות של חטופים שלנו חזרה לקבר ישראל.
Regarding the hostages, CNN News issued a report claiming that Egypt altered ceasefire terms before handing the documents to Hamas. According to the report, Egypt changed the details of the deal after it had been signed by Israel and before reaching Hamas. It was also reported that the move led to anger by Israel, the U.S., and Qatar against the Egyptians. Meanwhile, the families of hostages decided to release a video to the public tonight of the abduction of 5 female soldiers who were taken by Hamas at Nahal Oz on October 7th, as recorded by body cameras on terrorists. These photos from the film.
And regarding the hostages, it was a bittersweet weekend for Israelis when they learned that the dead bodies of 4 hostages had been recovered during an IDF operation in Gaza. The operation was based on IDF intelligence from the Shin Bet, Israel's security agency. There are still 128 hostages being held in Gaza by Hamas. More on this from ILTV's Rachel Safdie.
Hi, I'm reporting here from the Hostages Square in Tel Aviv. As we have some latest updates, the IDF has recovered the bodies of 4 hostages that were being held by Hamas in captivity in Gaza. This comes as the UN Security Council has just held their first ever session on the hostages since October 7th. Here's my full report. The IDF has recovered the bodies of hostages Yitzhak Gellerenter, Amit Buskila, Shani Luke, and Ron Binyamin in Gaza. The military announced over the weekend that soldiers recovered the bodies of the hostages as intensive fighting raged there between Israeli forces and Hamas. Until recently, both Gellerenter and Buskila were presumed to be alive, while Luke was confirmed dead in late October after a piece of her skull was identified following widely shared footage of terrorists kidnapping her. Nisim Luke, Shani Luke's father, told Channel 12 News that while the announcement of the IDF recovering her body was difficult, it was also long awaited, as he had been officially informed over 6 months ago of Shani's death. The families of Gellerenter and Buskila, however, stated they are grappling with difficult feelings in the wake of the news after holding out hope for months that their loved ones would return alive. For the first time since October 7th, the UN Security Council convened a meeting solely focused on the hostages held by Hamas. U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield emphasized the demand to bring these hostages representing 20 countries safely home, while emotions ran high as South Korea's deputy ambassador choked up while speaking of hostage Hersh Goldberg Polin. Israeli Ambassador Gilad Erdan said, "The hostages are the most urgent and critical humanitarian issue that the Council must focus on." The UN Special Representative on Sexual Violence in Conflict was supposed to attend the hearing but withdrew days in advance, reportedly not due to scheduling issues but due to political pressure, as her office faced criticism for not prioritizing the plight of Israeli hostages over Palestinians. And in a rally in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, Etin Golan, who represented Israel at this year's Eurovision Song Contest, sang the original version of the song October Rain, after the European Broadcasting Union disqualified the song for having political messaging. She sang the original lyrics for Israelis. Some 128 hostages remain in Gaza.
Take me home and leave the world behind. Baby, promise me that never again. I'm still waiting for this October rain.
There is deep outrage across the nation over the decision of the International Criminal Court prosecutor to seek arrest warrants for Netanyahu, Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders. Israel and U.S. leaders denounced the move as outrageous. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
There was cross-the-board condemnation throughout Israel on the move by the ICC prosecutors seeking arrest warrants for Netanyahu, Defense Minister Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders. The president, prime minister, and opposition all said the decision was outrageous.
The announcement of the prosecutor of the ICC is beyond outrageous and shows the extent to which the international judicial system is in danger of collapse. Taken in bad faith, this one-sided move represents a unilateral political step that emboldens terrorists around the world and violates all the basic rules of the court according to the principles of international law, complementarity, and other legal norms.
התובע בהאג, באיזה חוצפה אתה מעז להשוות בין מפלצות החמאס לבין חיילי צה"ל, הצבא המוסרי ביותר בעולם? באיזה חוצפה אתה משווה בין החמאס שרצח ושרף וביטר וערף ואנס וחטף את אחינו ואחיותינו, לבין חיילי צה"ל שנלחמים מלחמה צודקת שאין כמוה, במוסריות שאין דומה לה.
זה אסון. זה אסון מדיני, זה אסון ערכי. לא יכול להיות שאומרים שמוציאים צווי מעצר נגד נתניהו, יחיא סינואר, הנייה ומוחמד דף, אחרי שטבחו בנו ובילדינו ב7 באוקטובר. אין השוואה כזאת, אנחנו לא מקבל אותה ולא יכולים לקבל אותה. זה בלתי נסלח.
U.S. President Biden termed the ICC indictments outrageous. Whatever this prosecutor might imply, said Biden, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas, adding, the U.S. will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. Israel is not a member of the court, and even if the arrest warrants are issued, Netanyahu and Gallant do not face any immediate risk of prosecution. But Khan's announcement deepens Israel's isolation as it presses ahead with its war in Gaza, and the threat of arrest could complicate Israeli leaders' travel abroad.
Israel recalled its ambassadors to Ireland, Norway, and Spain for consultations after these countries announced they had decided to recognize a Palestinian state, a decision that will only go into effect next week. The country's leaders said the move was their response to the ongoing Gaza war. Foreign Minister Israel Katz, however, said the decisions by the countries send a message to the Palestinians and the world that terrorism pays. After the Hamas terror organization carried out the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, after committing heinous sexual crimes witnessed by the world, these countries chose to reward Hamas and Iran by recognizing a Palestinian state, Katz said. He added, "We won't stand silent." Katz warned other countries not to follow suit. As the discussion surrounding a Palestinian state continues, here to speak with us about the political and diplomatic repercussions is former member of Israeli Knesset and author Dr. Einat Wilf. Einat, thank you so much for joining us today. Just to start, does the decision to recognize a Palestinian state practically mean anything?
It doesn't mean much. It generally is, especially bilaterally, a form of recognition. Internationally, it means a lot because then it gives Palestinians basically more tools to harass Israel in international bodies. Bilaterally, generally does not mean much. It's really more symbolic. But precisely because it is symbolic, Israel should insist on the full symbolism. So, for example, if those countries recognize a state of Palestine, that means that according to their rules, Palestine meets all the conditions of a fully sovereign state. If that's the case, then those countries need to explain how is it that in that state of Palestine, which they claim to exists, and they just recognize, there exist more than 2 million people that they recognize as refugees from Palestine. So either these people are in Palestine or they are refugees from Palestine. Now, those people know which Palestine they're refugees from the river to the sea, from water to water. Palestine will be Arab. That's why they live in Gaza and Ramallah and claim to still be refugees from Palestine. But if Norway and Ireland and Spain believe that, it means that they foundationally, despite claiming that they're recognizing Palestine so that they can support two states, they're basically saying one of those two states is not the Jewish state. It essentially supports the Arab vision of two states that says West Bank and Gaza will be Arab Palestine, and Israel will also be Arab through this mechanism of refugee return.
Now, what are the consequences of Palestinian statehood for Israel? I mean, does this pose any kind of threat to Israel, legally speaking, or does it create an even greater security threat for Israel?
For Israel, it doesn't. Again, it's symbolic. There's no specific repercussions. But this is precisely why it's an opportunity for Israel to take the initiative. One of the things that this government in particular, but others as well, have done terribly badly is to challenge the Palestinians constantly on the fact that it is their refusal to accept a Jewish state with all the repercussions, meaning they are not refugees from Palestine. There's no such thing as a right of return into the sovereign territory of the state of Israel. They have only been ever the ones to refuse a Jewish state. But this Israeli government has failed to constantly challenge the Palestinians on that, essentially opening the path to numerous diplomatic failures, such as this one. But if the government would have said, by all means, go ahead and recognize the state of Palestine, just do so as part of the package. We want to know that you're consistent, because all these countries are basically saying, we are recognizing Palestine because we want to nudge the countries towards a two-state solution. That's their language. We want to push them to get them to that two-state solution. Well, the two-state solution, to remind everyone, is one Jewish, one Arab. One Jewish, one Arab. If that is the vision of a two-state solution, and again, for the last century, there has never been a moment when there was an Arab-Palestinian vision of peace based on two states when one of the states is Jewish. So if this is the vision of those countries, let them be clear about it. Say that they recognize Palestine. They're defunding UNRWA, which is the mechanism by which they basically continue to normalize the idea that Israel is a temporary aberration and that Palestinians are still refugees and one day they will be returned. Defund UNRWA, make it clear that your country will not accept that Arabs living in the West Bank and Gaza are refugees from Palestine, or that Jordanian citizens are refugees from Palestine, and make it clear, that's it, that you're doing it as a package. Then that would be of value. And I think that then we will find that Palestinians are not celebrating that recognition so much.
Absolutely. Dr. Einat Wilf, unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you so much for your insights on this issue.
1 month after Iran's missile assault on Israel, and the impressive defense system Arrow 3 is now in very high demand, as multiple countries have reportedly tried striking deals with Israel's aerospace industries. ILTV's Devo Klein has the details.
In mid-April, Iran launched a massive fleet of over 100 ballistic long-range missiles from within Iranian territory toward Israel. With the addition of 170 drones and 30 cruise missiles, Israel's Arrow 3 defense system was responsible for intercepting an impressive 99% of the projectiles. The Israeli aerial defense system is one of the most advanced in the world, as it features the Iron Dome for short-range rockets and mortars, David's Sling, which defends mid-range missiles, and the Arrow 3, an advanced aerial system that specializes in knocking out missiles while they are still outside Earth's atmosphere. Following the Iranian attack, a number of countries are now interested in purchasing the technology, according to the developer's chief executive. Israel Aerospace Industries CEO and Arrow 3 main contractor Boaz Levy could not disclose which countries have approached him due to confidentiality in the early stages of talks. Levy said he was optimistic that there will be more deals for the Arrow system after the, quote, very special demonstration they did. The Arrow 3 system is co-produced by the U.S. with Boeing. Sales are likely to also help bolster U.S.-Israel relations when deals for the defense system are finalized. Sales for the Arrow 3 defense system will follow Israel's largest arms sale when the system was sold to Germany for a whopping sum of 3.5 billion euros. The deal with Germany reportedly came after Russia's attack on Ukraine, as neighboring European countries seek to buff up security. Iran's attack has prompted the IAI to boost both the production of the current Arrow systems and also the development of its next generation, the Arrow 4, which is set to replace the Arrow 2.
And while Israel's war on the ground against Hamas continues, millions across the world continue to fight the PR war. With misinformation overtaking the media, American Friends of Sheba brought a delegation of influencers over to Israel to see the truth and bring it back to their social networks. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani has more.
The collaboration between American Friends of Sheba and 2024 New Voices is a testament to the enduring spirit of Israeli resilience and innovation, inspiring a deep connection between American values and Israel's unwavering commitment to hope and progress. Since October 7th, American Friends of Sheba Medical Center has brought more than 150 volunteers to the country and raised more than $35 million to support the work of Sheba, Israel's largest hospital.
My directive to my team was very clear. Whoever is free and has the time and has the capacity physically and mentally, join me. We are moving forward. We have to move forward. That's our role here in this very crazy times.
This partnership with 2024 New Voices harnesses the power of celebrities and influencers to amplify Sheba's message of hope without boundaries. Spearheaded by Samantha Ettus, this movement has seen luminaries like Cindy Crawford, Kathy Ireland, Connie Britton, and NBA star Zach Randolph join forces to speak out against anti-Semitism and promote unity on social media.
For me, it's a dream come true to witness not just the horrors of October 7th, but also to be able to show people the beauty of Israel. And it was really meaningful to have a number of our influencers and celebrities who are not Jewish. So we mixed Jewish and non-Jewish people, some who'd been to Israel before, some who've never been here, and giving them the full 360-degree view of Israel. So it's beauty, it's sadness, it's collective pain, all of it, and bearing witness to that and then bringing those stories back to their audiences.
During a visit to Sheba this month, these influencers experienced firsthand the remarkable ethos of Sheba Medical Center. They marveled at the returning to life unit within the rehabilitation hospital, where patients defy odds daily, reclaiming their lives with determination. At Safra Pediatric Hospital, they were touched by the resilience of young patients and the unwavering dedication of Sheba's staff. The ARC Innovation Center further showcased Israeli ingenuity, highlighting groundbreaking medical advancements that are changing lives worldwide.
ARC is the innovation arm of Sheba. What happened on October 7th, we knew we had to act. So by doing that, we're actually establishing a new startup company that will be part of Sheba, that we will be able to provide care not only local in Israel, but worldwide, and really make a global impact, which is the ARC mission.
Through this collaboration, the bond between American advocates and Israeli perseverance has been fortified, spreading a message of solidarity and resilience. As influencers share their experiences and voices with millions, they can inspire others to stand against hatred and embrace the enduring spirit of hope that defines both nations.
Anybody, and that's what I say to people on Instagram, Facebook that have been giving me criticism, I ask them, have you been to Israel? No. Well, how do you know? At least I took the chance. I came over here to review everything, and I've got a very open mind, and I'm glad I did. And I think everybody should come and see for yourselves. Just come and see.
It was incredibly important for me to come bear witness. All four of my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. The denial to this day is terrifying, and we're seeing it again now with October 7th. The denial, the misinformation, the gaslighting. And we have an obligation to share the truth.
For more of the latest updates from Israel, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at ILTV.tv or download the ILTV Plus app. That's it for ILTV's weekly review. Stay safe and see you next week.